Isla Marlin always said the sea made a better alarm clock than any mobile app. On the morning of Gulls Haven's annual pet parade, the gulls were particularly raucous, swooping past the picture windows of Salt and Suds Pet Spa as if they wanted first appointments. The spa, once a weather-worn bait shop at the end of Pier Street, now gleamed white and robin's egg blue, its sign crowned by a bubbly pawprint. Inside, eucalyptus mint mist curled from diffusers, classical cello streamed softly, and a community corkboard held thank-you cards from grateful owners who swore their labradoodles came home looking like Renaissance cherubs. Isla was snipping a fringe on Mrs. Burke's nerve-prone lop-eared rabbit when the front bell jingled with an unmistakable tinkle. Real silver, not the cheaper brass the hardware store sold. Only one person in town insisted on silver anything. Prunella Peabody swept in like a frigate catching full wind. Her hair, 2 tones of winter wheat, was pinned beneath a sun hat the size of a cafe table. Trailing behind her on a ribbon leash was Pierre, the famous charcoal grey standard poodle, who had won Best in Parade 3 years running. "Tell me you saved the premium sea plum conditioner," Prunella said breathlessly. "Mixed it an hour ago," Isla answered, handing the rabbit back to a relieved Mrs. Burke. "Pierre will be shiny enough to rival the lighthouse." Pierre offered an aristocratic yip. Isla guided him to the porcelain tub shaped like a clamshell. Finn, Isla's younger brother, and the spa's unofficial handyman, emerged from the supply room with a roll of replacement towels. Salt spray curls framed his freckled smile. "Morning, Prince Pierre. Ready for your spa-cation?" Pierre huffed, apparently forgiving the pun. While Finn ferried laundry, Isla worked through Pierre's routine, detangling, lathering, massaging paw balm scented with kelp butter. When finished, she tied a navy bow around his neck and clipped on the opalescent collar Prunella claimed was imported from Nice. It glittered like fish scales in sun. "You're a marvel, Isla," Prunella sighed, handing over a generous tip. "If Pierre even breathes near seaweed before the parade, just know it's the parade's fault, not ours." She left, heels tapping. Pierre pranced beside her, the bell jingling farewell. By noon, the spa bustled. Captain Doyle dropped off his one-eyed cat, Squid, and Melody Finch, the harbour's gossip columnist, collected her corgi wearing a tiny captain's cap. The scent of milk bones toasted under heat lamps mingled with coffee from the cafe next door. At 2 o'clock, a scream ricocheted down Pier Street. Isla sprinted outside. Prunella stood on the boardwalk clutching an empty leash. Her hat threatened to launch into the bay. "He's gone," she gasped. "Pierre vanished." Pedestrians froze like gull statues. A fiddler on the corner stopped mid-shanty. The pet parade was less than 2 hours away. Isla ushered Prunella into the spa's lounge, poured chamomile tea, and listened. "After we left you, I popped into tailored treats for Pierre's favourite duck macarons," Prunella quavered. "I attached his leash to the railing outside. I was gone 3 minutes. When I returned, nothing but this ribbon." Finn examined the leash clasp. "Broken clean," he murmured. "Looks snipped." A kidnapping? The word fluttered in every mind, but no one dared voice it. Melody Finch appeared, notebook poised like a sword. "Isla, dear, any comment on rumours of a dog napping?" "No comment, because there's no rumour," Isla snapped, guiding Melody to the door. "We're locating Pierre. Kindly give us space." When Melody left, Finn crossed his arms. Who'd steal a poodle in a town where everyone knows him? "Someone who wants him out of the parade," Isla said. Her gaze drifted to the community board. Pinned near the top was the flyer for tomorrow's ceremony. Best groomer, best showmanship, Mayor's golden leash. Prize money, donations, local fame. Let's gather clues, she decided. Prunella, do you mind if Nibs and I look around Pierre's last sighting? Isla's rescue terrier, Nibs, barked affirmation from the grooming table where he served as demo dog for student workshops. Prunella thrust the leash into Isla's hands. Find my darling. I'll offer a year of free trims for life. Isla swallowed a laugh. Trims for life couldn't exceed a year if they were free for a year, but the panic in Prunella's eyes eclipsed any humour. Outside Tailored Treats, traffic of strolling dogs and flip-flop feet had obscured potential prints. But Nibs sniffed the air, sneezed, and pulled Isla toward the alley behind the bakery. There, on the wooden deck, lay Pierre's opalescent collar, unclipped and intact. Look at this. Finn crouched over damp pawprints smudged with green ribbons. Seaweed slivers. Tide's too low this afternoon to fling it this far inland. Unless someone carried seaweed here, Isla said. A memory piqued. Tessa Tangles, owner of Waves and Whiskers Groomery across town, had been touting her new kelp infusion coat glaze. Tessa also happened to be runner-up for Best Groomer every year Isla had won. Finn noticed a broken latch on a gated passageway between bakery and antiques shop. Its lock dangled by one screw. The passage led directly to the dunes behind the parade route. They followed. Gull's Haven dunes were coarse piles of gold shag sprinkled with driftwood. Children built sand fortresses, while kites luffed overhead. Nibs followed the scent trail until he reached a patch of sand pocked with symmetrical holes, paw prints large enough for a poodle. A purple plastic comb jutted from the sand like a periscope. Tessa's signature colour, Finn said, recalling the lavender-themed interior of Waves and Whiskers. Isla slipped the comb into a zip bag from her apron. Evidence or coincidence? Suddenly a whimper drifted on the wind. Nibs perked. Isla held her breath. Another whimper, softer, plaintive, seemed to come from the weathered boathouse perched atop the old jetty. They hurried, the door hung open. Inside, nets smelled of diesel and salt. Sunlight filtered through slats to illuminate. Pierre, Isla exhaled. The poodle lay nestled on a pile of coiled rope, unhurt but trembling. He wore no bow. Around his muzzle clung crumbs, unmistakably duck-flavoured macaron filling. Finn knelt. "Buddy, you look woozy." Isla inspected him. Eyes clear, paws uninjured. Yet something glistened at the base of his tail, a sticky swipe the colour of honey mixed with algae. She sniffed. Kelp glaze. Pierre's tail wagged weakly. "We need to get him back to Prunella," Finn urged. "Not yet. Something's fishy. No pun." Isla pulled her phone. "Let me text Captain Doyle. His pickup can escort Pierre quietly." While Finn called Prunella, Isla searched the boathouse. Under a burlap tarp, she discovered 3 canisters labelled Sea Plum Kelp Coat Glaze, prototype. Nearby lay heavy scissors, a spool of lilac ribbon, and a pamphlet for tomorrow's Groomer Award with Waves and Whiskers circled in pink ink. Isla's heart sank. The circumstantial evidence screamed Tessa, but something gnawed at her. The broken gate latch and collar left conspicuously behind felt theatrical, like stage props shouting, "Blame Tessa!" Back at Salt and Suds, Prunella hugged Pierre as though reattaching a lost limb. She blotted away tears with receipts from her hatbox purse, thanking Isla between sobs. Captain Doyle discreetly loaded Pierre and Prunella into his truck for a private ride home. Before leaving, Prunella grabbed Isla's hands. "You saved him, but please, why did this happen?" "I plan to ask the same question," Isla said. With parade lineup only an hour away, Isla slipped her detective cap on fully. She drafted a mental suspect list. 1. Tessa Tangles, jealous rival with kelp glaze motive. 2. Melody Finch, the gossip columnist who might orchestrate drama for a hot headline. 3. Finn, unlikely, but he had access to scissors and towels, sabotage to force day off surfing. She snorted. No. 4. Random tourist seeking an award-winning stud poodle for breeding fees. Instead of marching to waves and whiskers, waving the comb like a warrant, Isla chose a softer tactic: cookies. Tessa never refused food, according to hairdresser rumour. Waves and Whiskers sat across the marina. Its window displayed a papier-mâché meerkat with shimmering scales. Inside, brushes hung from ropes, and seashell chandeliers tinkled high notes. Tessa stood at the counter, texting furiously. Her periwinkle smock matched her lipstick. "Oh, hi," she said, eyebrows lifting when she saw Isla with a bakery box. "If you're here to scout my new glaze, tough luck. It's under embargo until tonight." Isla offered a sweet smile. "Not spying, just sharing croissants. Stressful day?" Tessa accepted one, then stopped mid-bite. "Wait, stressful? You haven't heard. Pierre disappeared for an hour. Whole town's buzzing." Tessa's phone nearly slipped from her hand. "Disappeared? He's the star. Where'd they find him?" "In the old boathouse." "Who would stash him there?" Tessa mused, genuinely aghast. She brushed pastry flakes off her smock. "He okay?" "Shaken, possibly sticky with kelp glaze." Tessa frowned. "I keep my prototypes locked. Hold on." She fetched a clipboard from the grooming bay. 3 jars missing this morning. I assumed Finn borrowed them. He's been testing everything for his terrier's coat." Isla blinked. "Finn never said that." "I left a note in your supply mailbox," Tessa said, showing a carbon copy signed IM 8:10 a.m. "We trade products all the time." Isla studied the signature. Her own looked swoopy. This, however, was angular, the dot on the I a perfect triangle, nothing like hers. Forgery. "Can I borrow this?" she asked. Tessa nodded, confused. Out on the boardwalk, tourists snapped selfies with balloon animals shaped like dolphins. Islanders practicing for the parade maneuvered around them. Isla phoned Finn. "Meet me at Salt and Suds. Bring the leash." 20 minutes later, Finn arrived, arms full of last-minute supplies for the parade's grooming booth. Sample shampoos, Pawprints stickers, a crate of mini cupcakes iced like life preserver rings. "What's up?" he asked. Isla spread their evidence on the grooming table: the purple comb, forged note, snipped leash, and kelp glaze smear she dabbed with a cotton pad. "Someone framed Tessa," she said. "But who benefits if both her reputation and Pierre's entry get torpedoed?" Finn considered. Melody Finch's column thrives on scandal, but sabotage is a stretch even for her. "Melody is allergic to dogs," Isla recalled. "She would never handle a poodle voluntarily." "Who else?" Finn asked. Isla's gaze drifted to the birds outside. A seagull pecked at an iridescent fish scale that looked suspiciously like the plating on Pierre's collar. Then she remembered the one person who had been present both when Pierre vanished and when he was rescued, the only person not yet questioned: Captain Doyle. But Captain Doyle, the kindly fisherman who donated sardine treats each Christmas? "He drove Pierre home safely," Finn objected, hearing her thought. "He's trustworthy. Let's focus on tangible motives." Tangible motives, money. The parade's prize fund had increased this year thanks to a philanthropic grant. First place now came with a $5,000 check. Who needed money desperately? Isla's eyes landed on a framed article above the reception desk. "Small town heroes renovate old lighthouse. Front and centre stood Mrs. Burke, the rabbit owner, holding a donation jar. Keep the beam alive. The fundraiser had stalled last month, $4,800 short. Mrs. Burke, mild and sweet, always complaining of fixed incomes and vet bills. No, Isla murmured. Too kind. But kindness didn't annul desperation. Mrs. Burke's lop-eared rabbit had been on Isla's table at the exact time Prunella brought Pierre. The bunny had hopped out in his carrier soon after. If Mrs. Burke had excused herself to use the restroom, she could have tampered with the leash clasp using grooming shears within reach. Isla recalled catching a whiff of kelp glaze on the bunny's fur earlier and assuming it was cross-contamination from work surfaces. Had Mrs. Burke visited Tessa's shop to steal the prototype, leaving the forged note in the process? She had reason. If Tessa got blamed, Pierre's grooming would appear compromised, increasing chances for another contestant, perhaps Mrs. Burke's rabbit, to win and claim the prize funds. The theory felt labyrinthine but plausible. Finn caught her pensive look. We shouldn't confront her without proof. We need a confession, Isla agreed, stroking Nibs's wiry head. And I know how. She grabbed a fresh vial of Sultan Sudd's prized sea plum rinse, poured it into a generic bottle, and stuck a handwritten label, Kelp Glaze 2.0, strong scent. At the parade staging grounds, Main Street reimagined as Noah's Ark, pets milled about in thematic costumes. Dachshunds dressed as lobsters, parrots wearing sailor hats, a pair of goats sporting floaty rings. Isla located Mrs. Burke arranging her rabbit, Barnaby, in a miniature lighthouse diorama. Nervous sweat dotted the woman's temples. Mrs. Burke, Isla chirped, holding up the bottle. Good news. I found the advanced kelp glaze the thief used on Pierre. Since Barnaby's coat is similar in porosity, would you volunteer to test? Mrs. Burke's eyes widened. The thief's glaze? Yes. Whoever stole it left fingerprints on this. Isla waved the bottle closer. Once police run prints, we'll solve the mystery. Barnaby thumped in his crate. Mrs. Burke's hands shook until she wedged them into her cardigan pockets. A beat passed. Then she whispered, Isla, dear, may we speak in private? They stepped behind the parade's judging stand, where gull squawks muffled conversation. Finn lingered within earshot, clipboard disguised as prop. Tears welled behind Mrs. Burke's bifocals. I never meant harm, truly. I just needed Pierre to misline up long enough for Barnaby to place. The lighthouse is our town's soul. Without funds, we lose the beacon. I stole, the kelp product to smear blame. I planned to release Pierre near the boathouse 10 minutes before judging. Buried the ribbon leash in sand, but you found him sooner. Why not ask for help? Isla said gently. Pride. Mrs. Burke dabbed her cheeks with a tissue shaped like a seashell. I'm prepared to face consequences. Isla inhaled the briny air and weighed justice against compassion. Barnaby chewed a cardboard window in his lighthouse model, unaware of adult dilemmas. Return the prize if you win, Isla said softly. Donate it to the lighthouse openly, and you'll confess to Prunella and parade organizers after the award ceremony, so Pierre can still march untainted. Mrs. Burke blinked. You'd allow that? Pierre's safety matters. You didn't harm him. Calling police now would only dim the spirit of today's parade. But no more lies. She nodded, relief dissolving tension from her shoulders. Isla poured the fake glaze into the sand and hugged the older woman. Finn exhaled. Back on Main Street, Pierre trotted wearing a new bow, gilded teal to match Prunella's hatband. He seemed none the worse for his seaside adventure, tail high like a mast. The parade began with the mayor's whistle. Brass band music mingled with pet barks. Isla, Finn, and Nibs walked beside Sultan Sud's float, a giant rubber duck effigy spouting bubbles, waving to neighbours. Judging commenced at the end of the route near the lighthouse hill. Crowd cheers echoed off clapboard cottages. Best in parade went, unsurprisingly, to Pierre, the crowd's darling, with special mention for courage under kidnapping. Prunella sobbed behind her sunglasses. Next came Best Groomer. To Isla's delight and Tessa's elbow nudge, they tied for first after judges decided rivalry improved craft and community. Finally, Mayor's golden leash for creativity and community spirit. Drums rolled. The announcer lifted an envelope. Winner, Barnaby the Lighthouse Rabbit, presented by Mrs. Elsie Burke. Applause thundered. Barnaby twitched his nose regally. Mrs. Burke, eyes glossy but proud, accepted the golden leash trophy and a $5,000 check. She thanked sponsors, then cleared her throat, voice quavering. "I have something to say." The seaside breeze quieted. "I made mistakes today," she confessed into the microphone, recounting the incident in honest strokes, omitting nothing except names Isla insisted stay private. No need to shame Tessa. Gasps rippled, yet when Mrs. Burke pledged the entire winnings and her own savings to the lighthouse restoration, gasps transformed to cheers. The mayor, wiping glasses, placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "When the lighthouse shines tonight, let it guide us toward forgiveness," he said, and the crowd roared approval. Prunella approached Mrs. Burke, placing Pierre's opalescent collar in her hands as a symbol of absolution. Tessa offered use of her lavender lounge for bunny spa days. Melody Finch scribbled furiously, headline practically glowing, "Community shines after storm of secrets." As sunset painted the ocean coral, townsfolk gathered on the bluff facing the lighthouse. The keeper counted down, and the lens ignited, white light sweeping across water, catching flecks of foam like scattered diamonds. Isla leaned against the railing beside Finn. Nibs sniffed the salty air, then curled at her feet. "You solved another mystery," Finn said, nudging her shoulder. "It solved itself," Isla replied, smiling at the beam. "Sometimes people just need a chance to do the right thing." Below, Sultan Sud's sign flickered, reflecting lighthouse brightness. Tomorrow pets would arrive caked in beach sand and excitement, eager for warm baths. And Isla would be there with scissors, suds, and maybe, on calmer days, fresh croissants from tailored treats. But tonight she let the waves applaud and the beam turn, each rotation washing away shadows, promising that in Gull's Haven, even when things vanish, light eventually finds everything worth seeing.